Welcome. I'm Carmen, and I support our high-risk seniors at a motel.
Hey, I'm Jay, and I welcome guests to these dorms that shelter working men. I'm glad you're with us today.
I'm Courtney with the SABRE treatment program. SABRE provides drug and alcohol treatment to men experiencing homelessness. Thank you so much for supporting Roof Above today.
Hi, my name is Kenny, and I'm a graduate of the SABRE program, currently serving tenants here at Moore Place. Welcome to True Blessings.
Hello, my name is Cedric Mack, and I'm here welcoming all of our guests here at the Winter Shelter. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. I'll be here.
Hi, I'm Michelle. Every day, I welcome our neighbors to the Day Services Center, and today, I welcome you to True Blessings.
I'm Caleb. I meet people where they are through street outreach. Wherever you are today, thank you for joining us for True Blessings.
Welcome. My name is Akeem. As a member of our housing team, I have the pleasure of welcoming people to their new homes. Welcome to True Blessings.
Good afternoon. I'm Liz Clayson-Kelly, CEO of Roof Above. Welcome to our 14th annual True Blessings event and our first ever virtual event. Whether you are joining us for the first time or you've been to all 14 True Blessings or somewhere in between, whether you are watching here in Charlotte or from somewhere far away, we're so grateful you joined us today. Welcome. We are especially grateful for our virtual table host who invited and spread the word and got people to the event today. And we are so grateful for our generous corporate sponsors. We're grateful for all of our sponsors, but we especially want to recognize our leadership sponsors, the Oliver Private Wealth Management Group and Truist, and our platinum sponsors, Bank of America, Black Arch, and Honeywell. We are so grateful for your partnership. The work of Roof Above is all about helping people survive and reclaim their lives, and we only do that through your generosity. Just a couple housekeeping details for today, since this is our first ever virtual event. You'll notice that the program itself is a little shorter than our regular True Blessings event with fewer speakers. You'll also see that throughout the program, you'll see a form of how to donate to us. If you're watching on a computer, you'll see the donation form on the right side of your screen. If you're watching on the phone, you'll see it below. And if you scroll down, you'll see details of how you might give through text to give, stock donations, or by mail. You know, 2020 has been a huge year for Roof Above. We celebrated our 1-year anniversary of the merger of Urban Ministry Center and Men's Shelter of Charlotte. In May, we rolled out our new name, and we're so grateful to the community for embracing Roof Above. In September, we announced a big, bold move in our housing work. In fact, I'm standing here today at Hill Rock Estates. Thanks to the generosity of the community, we were able to purchase an entire apartment community. 341 units will preserve affordability for a wide range of incomes and set aside 75 units for people coming out of long-term homelessness. But of course, the thing that most has marked 2020 for us has been the COVID-19 pandemic. And I will tell you, I have done this work for a long time. I've pretty much worked for this mission and this organization my entire adulthood, and I have seen amazing things. I've seen miraculous healings and stunning family reunifications. I've watched people who've spent decades homeless not just get into housing, but thrive in housing. I've watched this organization move from meeting basic needs to truly investing in housing solutions. I've seen all of that, but I will tell you, I have never been more proud to work for Roof Above than I have this last year. We have a teammate, Cedric, you met him in the welcome video. He's had 8 family members who've passed away from COVID-19, and yet he's continued to come to the front lines each and every day. He said to me the other day, Liz, what I love about this team is we're a group of people that doesn't run away from the disaster. We run towards it. And we can only do that with your support. So thank you for the ways you guys have supported us through this pandemic. So to kick off our program today, I'd love to share this video highlighting our work in the midst of the pandemic.
I I don't think everybody knows the vast depth and breadth of our organization. A lot of people know us because of the shelter. A lot of people know us because of day services. Some people know us because of More Place. But what I think people don't know is that we're an organization that is deep and strong and systematic in our programs to really create systematic change.
COVID came here in March 2020 here at Roof Above. We had to come up with a plan, not just for March, April, or May, but for 2020 as well as 2021 and ongoing.
So I supervise the team that works with people that are literally sleeping outside. COVID has brought people closer to resources.
We knew that so many of the services that we provide for those experiencing homelessness are about congregating people. You have a shelter, you have a day services center. It's about bringing people together for services.
We took the necessary steps in the beginning, to solidify our stance here to help the community to obtain shelter during this pandemic. We had to institute the 6 feet rule, separation from keeping people apart. But the main thing is we basically say we were not going to close. It was not an option for us to close because of the urgent need of the shelter. We actually opened up dorms. We opened up hotels through partnership with the county, to help us, our goal to be successful in actually ensuring that people have a shelter to go during this pandemic time.
We not only kept our shelter open, we were able to provide more beds than we had prior to COVID. Staying open was simply because we had to. We're a basic need. We are right there on the front lines of humanity.
Mr. Hayes is a longtime teacher. He was an educator, and life just hit him, and he ended up where he was.
When COVID come along, it really changed some things, because a bunch of us, we were really having a hard time. In and out of motels for the next 3 years, we're literally sleeping on the street, and so we go up to Roof Above to just get some medicine and some food. I go in and talk to the housing part of Herb, and which became a Roof Above, I think.
Mr. Hayes came at first he was at the encampment near College Street. He was saying, I want to be housed. I don't want to be here. Is there no way you all can help me? And I just kind of took the time to calm him down and say, it's going to be tough, but just bear with us and we'll get you housed.
It matters to have someone who's an advocate. It really matters a lot.
Mr. Hayes gave us a lot of emotion when we told him that we had first found the place. It was anxiety at first because he's been experiencing homelessness for so long, and then for someone to come to him and say, we have somewhere for you to go. So that's when we start to see those happy tears.
I like me, I like what I'm doing, and I want to help other people who are in this situation. And once I fully get on my feet for a couple more months, you're going to hear from me.
At first, his head was down. It was down all the time, but now it's up. Nose to the air, smiling, happy, excited. It's honestly a Mr. Hayes that I didn't get to experience until he got into housing. So it's really excited to actually see, I believe, what is his true self at his best.
The ultimate goal of our work is always to get people into housing. The path to get there might be different for everyone, but that's our end goal always.
And you come on this campus or you go to the shelter and you have a conversation with somebody, you look them in the eye, you hear their unique situation, their issues and challenges, you remember the humanity in it all.
When the pandemic hit, I had this moment when I was gripped with fear, and I just kept repeating in my head, people we serve are going to die. This moment happened shortly after the community had gone into lockdown. At Roof Above, we'd been working these really long hours redoing pretty much all of our operations. In order to promote social distancing, we had completely changed the layout of our Statesville Avenue shelter. We had to rethink our day services center, where people who are sleeping outside come to get mail and a shower and help. We had to rethink everything in order to socially distance. We had already started to move folks into a motel with the help of the county. We had to implement quarantine rooms and temperature checks and health checks. We'd done all of these things, and we had no idea if it was going to work. No one did. Pretty much no one on earth had lived through a global pandemic. And there I was early on a Saturday morning driving into work. Almost no one was on the road, and I just kept hearing in my head, people we serve are going to die. And it was in that moment, gripped with fear and anxiety, that I heard this voice that our board member Kathy Izzard calls the whisper. And the whisper invited me to pull out my phone and to play a song I hadn't listened to in years, but had loved throughout my 20s, Closer to Fine by the Indigo Girls. The song itself is not that important, though it is a song about embracing uncertainty. I put on this song and I rolled down my windows. I'm a horrible singer, but I was singing so loudly, and I found myself smiling as well as starting to cry. And it was in that moment that I released the fear, and I embraced the incredible, awesome responsibility, embraced the possibility. I recognized that Roof Above had a chance to do what we always do. We show up for people no matter what. Whatever the circumstances, we are there. That's who we are, that's what we do, and that, I realized, was how we were going to get through this pandemic. And in that laying down of fear and embracing responsibility, you saw Roof Above do things, not just all of the safety pieces of our response, but really start to ask ourselves what was possible. How could we do more to serve this community? One of my favorite projects we've worked on, because it's miraculous how all the pieces fell into place, but we were able to find an old college dormitory and transform it into an emergency shelter for working men. And not just a shelter, but truly having a program around it. There are some phenomenal outcomes. Last week alone, we had 5 men move out of the dorms into their own housing. We were at the height of everything with the county and other partners operating in 4 different motels. We had figured out how to make sure anyone in our shelter who had a COVID risk factor had a chance to be in a non-group shelter setting. We accelerated our housing work. I'm standing here in Hill Rock today. We knew that we had to deliver on housing solutions for people in the midst of this pandemic. And we're not stopping there. Our street outreach team, who's at this point moved dozens of people out of the large encampment outside our day services center, they are working in a systematic way, collaborating with community partners to make sure everyone in that encampment, make sure they know what resources are available, what housing opportunities might be available to them. And in just a couple of weeks, we're going to roll out an entirely socially distanced winter sheltering plan. We'll actually be able to offer more shelter beds this winter than any other winter in the past. And we're able to do this because we are putting down the fear and embracing the responsibility and the possibility. And I'll tell you why we can do that. It is because every single day we learn from the people we serve. We watch as people have to accept the reality of homelessness, a reality they thought would never come to them. We watch as they, with courage, face the demons of their past so they can move forward. We get to journey with people as they embrace new opportunities and reimagine what their life can be and begin again. It is through their inspiration that Roof Above draws our inspiration. And today I would like to share 3 stories of folks we serve with you. The first story is of Michelle. The first thing Michelle would want me to tell you is thank you. Thank you for saving her life. Michelle firmly believes that she would not have made it through this pandemic if she was homeless. She moved into her housing right as the pandemic took grip. When Michelle recounts her story of homelessness, she goes back to the age of 9. The age of 9 is when Michelle garnered up the courage to tell her mother that her stepfather had been sexually abusing her. Her mother's response was to push her out the door, no shoes on a cold winter morning, and shut the door behind her. She told Michelle she was teaching her a lesson about lying. The lesson Michelle learned was how to bottle up her pain. And that is the moment she recounts where she draws back to the darkness and depression that would make it sometimes difficult for her to get out of bed. Michelle would know more loss. She lost her mother to ALS. Her youngest son committed suicide his first year in college. And she continued to bottle up that pain. Alcohol was her escape. When she met Akeem, one of our housing case managers you met in the welcome video, she had been living in a car for 2 years and spiraling with her alcoholism. You know, there is not enough affordable housing for everyone we serve. The most recent community reports show that we have a lack of 23,000 units of affordable housing. It's why Roof Above is working so hard to create more housing solutions. So the housing opportunities we do have, we prioritize the folks who are most vulnerable. And Michelle was one of those folks. So Akeem was able to work with her to move her into housing, to support her so she could be successful in housing. The team worked to get her connected with income. And do you know what she did with that opportunity? When she had that little bit of stability, the first thing she bought was a headstone for the grave of her son. She had found her little bit of peace and dignity, and she wanted to give that to her son, even in death. When Michelle talks about housing, she talks about waking up every morning and learning to grieve, this time without the dependency on alcohol. She is putting down the fear and embracing the responsibility and the possibility and beginning again. I think of the story of Mr. Willie. Mr. Willie was born and raised in Charlotte. He went to Olympic High School where he played football, and when busing came, he moved over and graduated from South Mech. When I hear Mr. Willie's story, I'm reminded that Charlotte ranks 50th out of 50 in economic mobility. You see, Mr. Willie was born into poverty, and in his entire life, he lived on the razor edge of housing insecurity. He would have housing, he'd run into money problems, he'd find himself homeless, always able, through his work as a mechanic, to get back on his feet. But as he got older, his luck ran out. He could no longer work as a mechanic due to his health challenges, and his Social Security retirement income was not enough to afford housing in this community. So Mr. Willie came to our shelter. Now, he qualified for subsidized housing for senior citizens, and we put his name on wait list. His name joined the names of hundreds of others, and he found himself waiting in our shelter. It is precisely stories like Mr. Willie's that caused us to create Link Housing, which Mecklenburg County has generously funded. With the Link program, folks who are eligible for permanent subsidized housing, instead of waiting in the shelter, they wait in housing with the support of a case manager. Mr. Willie moved in a few months ago, and with his housing opportunity, he's using it to become the son he wants to be. His mother is still living, but has dementia. 6 days a week, Willie goes from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and sits by her side. On Wednesday, he takes the day off, he sleeps in, he watches some TV, he meets with his case manager. He refers to it as his self-care day. Mr. Willie is using his opportunity to reimagine what's possible, finally, after 66 years, finding a piece of housing security. And when I hear and think about the stories of Michelle and Mr. Willie, I'm reminded of this book that I've just read. It's called Why Fish Don't Exist. It's really a book about how we order the world, how we divide up animals, and in turn what that says about how we divide up humans. In this book, the author puts before the reader 3 animals: a salmon, a lungfish, and a cow, and ask which 2 are the most similar. It's very easy to quickly push and look at the salmon and the lungfish. They both have scales, they both live in the water. Surely these 2 are the most similar. But when you apply a scientific lens and look deeper, you quickly see that actually the windpipe, the lungs, the heart of the lungfish and the cow are more similar. I think about this story because I think when I hear Willie's story and Michelle's story, in some ways they're so different than my own. But if I look and really listen, where do I see pieces of the heart, the windpipe, the lung reflected in my own story? I invite you to reflect on that as I introduce this 3rd story shown in video, the story of Nate.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any place to stay. Got off the bus and I just remember walking. Just walking nowhere. Sometimes I would go into parking lots underneath the skyscrapers and catch a few hours there. You know, you have to avoid being seen. It got very lonesome, it got hard. There was no one here for me.
When our work is its most meaningful is when those dividing lines, staff and guests, when those disappear and you're just caring about one another, that's the answer.
My name is Bob Breed. I'm a intake diversion specialist, which means I'm usually one of the first folks that they get to meet when they come to the shelter. This is the dorm area. Nate came to the shelter and he recognized that he needed to have a support system. We helped him get a bed and get settled into our routine.
Bob Breed's firm, we always talk to each other about each other's family.
Every time I would talk with him and want to know how he was doing, he would always ask me how I was doing, and he wanted to know how my family was doing.
I told him some of my life story. He lended me an ear.
He was dealing with some mental health and some substance abuse issues.
Oh, he always gave good advice.
Honest and open and genuine. That's just who he is.
Now go for it. Try it again.
Just a few months ago, Nate got involved in a training program, HVAC training program.
Those terminals are going to go directly down to your windings.
Joe Hamby had announced on the speaker a registration. So I got up and I went straight to him and he enrolled me.
I simply offered him this opportunity and he took it and ran with it.
The guys like Nate that were putting up with adversity and were making it anyway. No matter what life put in front of them, they kept coming back through the door.
The course wasn't easy.
They're a bigger version of this guy. We can control the exact speed of that motor with a really high degree of accuracy.
Yet I wanted to open a new door for myself.
Bolt the door, pulsing it into a motor, into a...
Wasn't just, can I get to class today? Can I pass that test? He had other barriers that he was having to overcome at the same time.
You can't really have stability if you don't have housing. Job hunting, maintaining your job, it's hard to go to school. Being able to take a shower every day, get a good night's sleep, it really takes the housing part.
They put me on the next list of available housing. Kim started taking me out to look at different houses.
How you doing, bro?
How's your week going?
Good.
Great. Pretty all right. Thanks. You too. It was heaven. Brand new carpet, quiet, wasn't too busy of a block. My life is developing right now into constructive things. I went to take the test, keeping my fingers crossed. I got the results. It was like, whoa, shoot. I passed with flying colors.
I get to see men begin again to believe in themselves. And they begin again to have faith that things can work out.
He used all those resources that were at his disposal to do what he needed to do.
I'm just beyond words. I mean, there are no words for how I feel about what Nate has done, and I just couldn't be happier for him.
I see myself shining a lot more over the next 2 years and being where my children can actually become more active with me. And I just stayed firm with my decisions and my steps.
Friends, tomorrow Nate will take his road test to become a licensed North Carolina driver. We're so grateful for Mr. Hayes, Michelle, Mr. Willie, and Nate for sharing their stories with us today. I want to share one more story. It's about my friend Meg, who's also a phenomenal supporter of the work of Roof Above. She's just been diagnosed with breast cancer and just a couple of weeks ago underwent a double mastectomy. The day she had her surgery, I kept my phone with me to kind of keep an eye on how she was doing. I had just gotten a text from her husband saying surgery went well. She just needs to rest. And those of us who know Meg know she doesn't love to rest and she doesn't love to follow rules. So I can't tell you, I was altogether surprised when I saw her name pop up on my cell phone screen. And I picked up, relieved to hear her husband's voice, and said, oh, I thought surely Meg's not calling me right after surgery. And then I hear this voice pipe up in the background. The voice has very slurred words, but clarity of message. Clearly, Meg had pestered her husband enough that he finally relented and called me. And Meg said, Liz, I know True Blessings is coming up, and I want to give you a word. That word is uncertainty. As I'm facing cancer, I realize my life is uncertain. I realize for so many of us as we face this pandemic, we're all facing uncertainty. But uncertainty is exactly what the folks you serve know every single day. And that's exactly what Roof Above is trying to address, provide folks certainty of where they can eat, where they can sleep, and how they can move forward. And I loved this moment because any of us would give Meg all the room in the world to only be focused on herself. But in the moment of facing her own personal crisis, Meg reached out and connected herself, not just to the folks we serve, but to all of us in the feeling of uncertainty. And I think that's really what COVID has invited us to do, in some ways forced us to recognize our connectedness with others. You know, when I say that at Roof Above, we get to show up for people every day, no matter the circumstance, part of why we do that is we know that at any moment that could be us on the other side of the counter. That could be our mother, our sister, our daughter. In fact, those we serve are all someone's child, someone's son, someone's daughter. We get to show up no matter the circumstance because you show up for us. We are so grateful for all the ways you have supported us through the years, and we invite you today to give again. You are the ones who help us let go of the fear and embrace the responsibility and the possibility to reimagine our work and reimagine this community. We invite you to give today to help us reimagine who we can be, to let go of the fear and embrace the possibility. Thank you so much for joining today.